from disclosure. Because his requests were so inextricably intertwined with protective information, we were unable to authorize him to publicly disseminate this material. You can't disseminate it. That's what they're telling Special Agent Wright. The same holds true for any oral public comment Special Agent Wright may make regarding the subject matter described in our March 29th and May 10th, 2002 letters. Yesterday, we blast-faxed all over creation information that we were going to hold this press conference today, including right into the Attorney General's office. We wanted him to know. Pursuant to his employment agreement and FBI procedures, Special Agent Wright is still not authorized to publicly disseminate information we have previously advised is prohibited from disclosure at this time. As the guidelines further indicate, and we feel obligated to inform you, and this is key, breach of an employee's employment obligations may be grounds for disciplinary action, a civil suit, or both. In some instances, unauthorized disclosure may also constitute cause for revocation of a security clearance or be a criminal offense. We sincerely hope that this sort of action will not prove necessary. We want you to know that the FBI does take Special Agent Wright's allegations seriously, and we have encouraged him to report any concerns he might have to an investigative entity with appropriate jurisdiction. So you, the media, the members of the Fourth Estate, are not entitled to know anything. The FBI gets to decide what is the appropriate jurisdiction, such as the Office of Professional Responsibility, the Office of the Inspector General, or the relevant congressional committees that are investigating the terrorist attacks of September 11th. Sincerely yours, John E. Collingwood, Assistant Director, Office of Public and Congressional Affairs. What unbelievable hypocrisy, if not illegality, in threatening Special Agent Wright for coming forward and talking to you, just like Special Agent Raleigh of Minnesota talked about Zacharias Moussaoui. Our client, Special Agent Wright, what he has to say is even more damning of the FBI than the testimony of Colleen Raleigh, because Special Agent Wright had 10 years of experience in dealing with the FBI. As you're going to hear from him, he was thwarted from doing his job in investigating Islamic money laundering in the United States, which monies went to finance terrorist activities here and overseas. The monies primarily were laundered by Hezbollah and Hamas, groups which had been protected by successive American administrations because of administrations' coziness with Yasser Arafat. These are the groups that support Yasser Arafat. These are the groups which support the man favored by our Secretary of State, Colin Powell, to lead the negotiations on behalf of the Palestinian Authority in the Middle East. Now, we have tried before this press conference, to get this information out. Special Agent Wright had gotten to know a reporter of the New York Times, and that reporter was actually wanting to write a story about what he had to say many months ago. And it was in that context that we asked the Federal Bureau of Investigation not only to clear the manuscript, the book, that Special Agent Wright is writing about betrayals of the intelligence community, but also to clear certain questions. The FBI would not clear those questions, and the article was never written. But we are in front of you today to make as much disclosure as we possibly can without jeopardizing Special Agent Wright, without subjecting him to criminal prosecutions, without subjecting him to further threats and intimidations by a director of the FBI who simply, and this is my opinion, did not do his job and let the country down, by an administration which, despite being elected on the basis of restoring national security, slept for 9 months and did virtually nothing to shore up the inadequacies of the FBI. And by an administration which comes forward yesterday only to cover their backside after it becomes apparent that they hid information from the American people for 9 months, material information as to how, in the new admission of FBI Director Robert Mueller, the 9/11 attacks could have possibly have been prevented. But rather than allowing Special Agent Wright to come forward and speak, like Colleen Raleigh, who's now being disingenuously praised by the FBI Director, our client is being threatened. Well, he's going to say as much as he can, and we produce certain materials to you which are public, and we're available to answer questions to the extent we can, particularly counsel. We thank you for coming, and it's important that you, as members of the media, members of the Fourth Estate, get the information out to make this story as important as the Colleen Rowley story, because it is complementary of that story. And to hear what Special Agent Wright has to say about this so-called reorganization of the FBI, because all it is cosmetic. It's simply putting icing on an otherwise stale cake. There needs to be a total reorganization. There needs to be a new agency, as you'll hear. The FBI is incapable of fighting terrorism. And in fact, we're now hearing predictions on almost a 10-minute basis of new terrorist attacks, statements by the Vice President himself that we're powerless to prevent nuclear and biochemical attack. Just this morning, statements by the U.S. Customs Service that we will not be able to restrain containers containing nuclear devices coming into this country. And I ask, as Chairman of Judicial Watch and as representative of the American people, what have you, the Bush administration, been doing for the last 9 months that just now you're advising the American people that we don't have the defenses, even after having lost 3,000 lives? I now introduce you to Special Agent Robert Wright. And I want to also introduce you to our co-counsel, David Shippers, who has been instrumental and a true American hero in his own right in bringing, no pun intended, Special Agent Wright to the attention of the American people. David Shippers has some comments. He's in his office in Chicago, Illinois. I turn you over to Dave Shippers and then Bob Wright.
Good morning, everybody. I'm
Dave?
not going to take much time, but I had not seen that letter that Larry just read because I've been out of town. I just got back last night, and I talked to Larry, and he told me about the letter and about the same threats that we've been getting from day one. This young man, Robert Wright, is, in my opinion, a great American because he's had the courage to come forward. We have dotted every I and crossed every T. We've done everything that the FBI requires before an individual comes out and talks publicly. At every stage, we've been completely dismissed. We've been dismissed by the Congress. We've been dismissed by the Attorney General. We've been dismissed by the FBI. Indeed, we've been threatened by the FBI and by the Attorney General's office. At one point, when Mr. Wright was going to talk to a representative of the Congress, he was told that both he and his lawyer could find themselves in great difficulty if he made one wrong statement. This is the type of thing, and this is the way the FBI over the years has kept people from any kind of criticism. Now, you will note at the end of that letter, we were told that there are appropriate people that we can go to with our complaint. What was it? Bob can tell you. I think it was 6 or 8 months ago. Bob, before 9/11, Bob filed a formal complaint with the Inspector General's office against the FBI and against the manner in which they were conducting or not conducting their anti-terrorist activities. Very recently, within the last 2 weeks, I finally received acknowledgement from the Department of Justice Office of Inspector General. The individuals charged by statute and by executive order with investigating any complaints by FBI or other whistleblowers within the department. I was told that the Inspector General's office, quote, does not have the facilities to conduct an investigation of this scope. Therefore, we are going to send it over to the Joint Committee of the Congress, the Senate and House Joint Committee. Now, I don't know if they've sent it over there or not, but I haven't heard word one from the Senate or the House about Robert Wright and what he has. It seems to me that this is just the typical method. Throw it over to the Congress, tell the Congress that they can investigate, and then tell Agent Wright he's not allowed to divulge anything to the Congress. When I heard Director Mueller yesterday congratulate an agent for coming forward, I thought perhaps that maybe there is a new aura in the Bureau and maybe things are going to change. They may change in Mr. Mueller's mind, but the bureaucracy will never change. And by adding to that bureaucracy, all it does is give them more individuals that they can hide stuff with and places to place the blame. I'm going to let you talk to Bob. Bob, be very careful because you're in their crosshairs, as am I, again. And just don't go into any specifics, any particulars about any case, even though you and I both know that there is no case. But they claim there is, so we'll follow their guidelines, the same guidelines that put 3,000 people on the street dead in New York. Go ahead.
Let me add, Dave, before we get into that, that despite the fact that Bob is being prevented from speaking, specifically just like Agent Raleigh has been praised for doing. Look at Raleigh's letter.